Well, welcome to the Botanical Medicine Study course with me, your host and instructor, Stephanie Georgiev. Thanks to all who are long-term subscribers, and welcome to all you lovely new subscribers. If you're a regular viewer, you know we've been exploring botanical medicines that are helpful to the metal element in traditional Chinese medicine, because where I am posting these articles, and actually most of the people that view them are in the Northern Hemisphere, and we're in full swing autumn. And the metal element in traditional Chinese medicine dominates the lung and large intestine. So we're looking at herbs that help this out. So for this week's Herb of the Week, we will be exploring an herb, but I use that term lightly because it may not be acceptable to vegans. And what we will be exploring is incredibly tonifying to the lungs, and it is called Cordyceps. Now, I want to give a trigger warning to all of you wonderful and valuable vegans, because this quote unquote herb, which is technically considered a fungus, is actually the fungus that comes from the carcass of the insect larva, mostly caterpillars. So you've been warned. This is a mushroom that grows from dead caterpillars. Now, the official botanical name of this dead caterpillar larva fungus is Cordyceps sinensis. And my long-term listeners and Latin binomial experts know that anytime you see or hear the word sinensis, it means Chinese. Now, the generic name of Cordyceps, which is this very large family, is derived from the ancient Greek word that means club. So the cordy means club, and the seps means in Latin means headed. So this is a multicultural word. It's both Greek and Latin. Now, in Chinese medicine, the term is Dong Cheng Xia Cao, which translates to winter worm and summer grass, which has much to do with how this fungus is cultivated. Cordyceps is a genus of parasitic fungi that grows on the larvae of insects, but it seems to have a particular fondness for caterpillars. There are more than 400 species of cordyceps. I just love botany and the people that count all this stuff. It's amazing. But if you go to Wikipedia and you look up cordyceps, you're going to see quite a long list of the different varieties of this family. Now, when these fungi attack their host, which is a caterpillar larvae, they replace its tissue and sprout long, slender stems that grow outside of the host's body. And that's what you see both in the small diagram as well as these beautiful slides that I got, the background slide I got from Wikipedia. Now, so if you want to get into the theme of Halloween, these images of things growing out of dead caterpillars will inspire all sorts of mummy and zombie imaginations. I'm not sure, and I'm just not sure if any culture snacks on the full mushroom larva coexistence. So I will let more experienced entomophagists, those are people that eat insects, among us answer that question, and they can actually keep it to themselves. They'd just be rich in this knowledge. Now, the remains of the insect and the fungi are hand collected and dried in the early summer when the fungus has emerged, but the larva is not yet disintegrated. Now, the family of cordyceps, depending on where it is and what larva it's feasting on, are found worldwide, but particularly in Tibet, Thailand, and China, where the climate is humid and warm. Now, for our purposes, we're examining the Chinese type, hence the name Cordyceps sinensis. Now, something I also find interesting is that Cordyceps is in the family of Clavicipitaceae, which that's a wonderful Scrabble word for you because it's a noun, which is a family of fungi. And in 2020, our amazing team of mycotaxonomists have labeled and counted the number of members in this family. So these different families within this lovely family is 50 members. But just know there may be more yet to be discovered and labeled. And now I'm most familiar with traditional Chinese medicine. I'm sorry, I don't know a lot about Tibetan medicine. I think it's wonderful, but I just don't know a lot about it. But so I'm going to focus mostly on traditional Chinese medicine and modern Western use of this caterpillar fungus. And it's called Dongchang Xia Cao, which means winter worm and summer grass. And that's the Chinese characters. This enters the kidney and lung meridians, and it's sweet and warm. Some of the Chinese textbooks say that it smells a little bit like meat. I will believe them. It tonifies yang, tonifies the kidneys, transforms phlegm, stops bleeding, and supports lung yin. And it's very good for relieving chronic cough. And traditionally, it's used for male infertility and impotence. Now, in Chinese medical theory, the lungs and kidneys are related energetically. And depending on the diagnosis, in certain types of asthma, to get at the root of the problem, you actually have to tonify the kidneys. Now, since this herb does both lung and kidneys, it's really great for chronic asthma. But again, please get a diagnosis because the Chinese, just an aside, when I was in acupuncture school, we had to make a chart of 60 different types of diarrhea, okay? Meaning these were all the different reasons why you could have diarrhea. And at one point, I actually remembered all of that. But what I'm telling you, why I'm telling you that story is that the Chinese are really specific in diagnosis. And because they're so specific, there's not just one herb for every type of asthma or one herb for every type of diarrhea. You just need to be very specific. Okay. So if your kidneys are weak and you have asthma, you need to treat the kidneys. So this is really good for that type of asthma. It's very good at relieving chronic cough, shortness of breath, phlegmatic blood cough of deficiency type. And so some of us, that's a very artistic way to say a bloody cough from some sort of tuberculosis. It's also very good to reinforce lung and kidney, mainly because it tonifies kidney yang. And because it tonifies kidney essence, it's very good for reproductive health, particularly male infertility as well as impotence. That's an issue. Go to your Chinese herbalist or acupuncture practitioner, get a good diagnosis, and this herb may help you quite a bit. Now, modern medicine, bless its heart, is always looking for solutions to various problems, and the fact that most modern drugs are based on petrochemicals and synthesized from petrochemicals. We're running out of um, we're running out of petroleum. So, and a lot of these drugs we're actually getting resistant to. So that's why they're always out there looking at certain things. And what they've noticed about this wonderful herb is that it's tonifying for the respiratory and cardiovascular systems. It's very good for the endocrine and reproductive systems. So you see a little bit of overlap in terms of how it's used in Chinese medicine. And the big word here is the adaptogen. It also, and we'll see some of the constituents. There's lots of antioxidants in this incredible fungi, which means it contributes to anti-inflammatory properties. It's also tonic. And there have been some really interesting studies that it has antimicrobial properties. I'm never sure about whether or not it attack. A lot of times when certain tonic herbs are considered antimicrobial, is it because they're antimicrobial or they're basically making the host stronger, and bacteria only grows on weak hosts. Now, athletes swear by this herb because it's an adaptogen and it helps increase stamina. And sometimes I wonder, when athletes win gold medals and then their drug tests come back and they say they were supplementing with some banned substance, I often wonder if it's the fact that they're taking some sort of Chinese herb. So we'll just wonder about that. And because it has so much antioxidants in it, those are technically wonderful for the entire cardiovascular system, from the heart to the blood vessels. So it's really, really good for your heart. Now, the constituents are quite amazing. And this image is from one of my favorite sources, Science Direct. And there's all kinds of stuff in there. It's cordyceps acid, cordycepsin, glutamic acid. It's basically got all of the amino acids in it. It's very interesting. Arginine, phenylalanine, alanine, valine, histidine. It also is very rich in vitamin B12, but most types of fungi are, hence the whole thing about nutritional yeast. Brewer's yeast has polyphenols and antioxidants, as we said before. Now, cordyceps stimulates cells and specific chemicals in the immune system. And what this does is it really improves stamina, immunity, all sorts of good things. Cordyceps is used, as I said before, by athletes to build stamina and strength. And one of those wonderful amino acids, adenosine, is a nucleic acid that it increases the production of ATP. And ATP is the energy fuel of your body, of your cells. And that's why it increases stamina. And so it's very good as a tonic. If you're like me, you're getting older, you're just constantly tired. This is a good thing for that, because it'll just get a little more juice to your muscles. And as I said before, there have been some studies that indicate there's some antimicrobial effects. Now, there's all kinds of ways you can take cordyceps. I highly suggest getting a diagnosis from a Chinese herbalist or an acupuncturist. But a lot of people supplement with this because it's really safe. I mean, when the Orthodox research sites are saying, well, you can take this every day for a year, it'll be fine. Obviously, it's very safe. And there's no known drug herb interaction. So that's interesting. But mostly you can find it in powder form. You can, they basically sort of like freeze-dried coffee. They make a strong tea out of cordyceps and then they freeze dry that, or they can grind up the dried mushroom. And you can get that in capsule form, bulk. You can also get it in tincture. And if you go to your Chinese herbalist, you'll get a little bunch of this orange stuff there. So there's lots of ways. And some people are just really into this and they'll put it in their morning smoothie. So, hey, you can have at it. Now, cautions. The main cautions is that because of all the antioxidants, it increases bleeding time. So if you know you're having any type of surgery and you're taking this every day, stop taking it 2 weeks before whatever planned surgery. You also, if you're having unplanned surgery and you're conscious, make sure to tell your surgeon and the intake nurse that you're taking this. In certain autoimmune diseases, there's a little bit of a concern that it might stimulate those. I don't agree with that, but I feel responsible to tell you. So if you have an autoimmune disease such as multiple sclerosis, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, make sure to talk with your acupuncturist or Chinese herbalist to get a really specific Chinese diagnosis. There might be better herbs for your specific condition, or this might aggravate your symptoms. So if you have an autoimmune disease, make sure that you check it out before you start dumping this in your morning smoothie. But it's very safe. There are the general cautions. Well, we don't know if it affects pregnancy. I don't know of any dosage for children. I wouldn't suggest doing this, but you could check it out with your Chinese herbalist. And the only mild side effects that some people have reported are diarrhea, constipation, or stomach upset. So if you have any of those conditions, reduce or stop the dose and see if those problems stop. If you bring it up again, they begin, then maybe this isn't your herb. Now, it's basically a bit mind-blowing how much information is out there, but there's no book specifically, and I did look it up, on all the information on how to grow and cultivate cordyceps. I have no experience with this on any level, so I'm deferring to those who do. Now, one of the more reputable companies for growing any type of fungi, it's a wonderful company. It's called Spore. I think they're out of Canada. I may be wrong about that, but it's called Spore. And they have a really lovely YouTube channel I highly recommend for you fungophiles or mycophiles, as you might call yourself. Now, in the plant world, there's a group of humans that gather around any type of plant family you can imagine. And it's always fun to see the people. Usually the camellias and African violets are little old white-haired ladies, and roses, things like that. Sago palms, as you can imagine, are usually surfer types. And the mushroom people are absolutely fascinating and fun. I really enjoy them. They're very fun. So if you want to start a side business or just grow some for yourself, there's links in the program notes on two good sources of information on that. One's a WikiHow tutorial, and the other is the North Spore YouTube channel, and they have all sorts of links on how to order things from their amazing company. So, however you wish to incorporate this beautiful, interesting kind of not botanical, but botanical gift from both the nature and insect world, I hope you come to appreciate it as I have, both in my clinical and personal practice. This is Stephanie Georgiev saying thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me. Make sure to check out the links in the program notes. And until next time, be well.